Well, guys, we are lucky enough to kick off Tennis Con with 17 Grand Slam champion Gigi Fernandez. And after Gigi, I kept getting email after email saying they just loved your presentation. They love your personality. They love your insights. They love you. They love your honesty. You know, some of the questions I asked you, I was frankly surprised by the answers. But you know, people love that. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. I'm honest to a fault, but today I got an email from somebody thanking me for being transparent. So I
Yeah.
guess that's a good thing in the internet world.
Yeah, they love that. They love that honesty, and they respect your opinion because they know that you have played at the highest level and have prevailed, and they also love the fact that you're trying to help them improve in their game, and people really love that. You know, being here at Newcomb's Ranch this week, everybody's just so appreciative of the legends coming around and looking at their game and trying to help them.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. A couple things before we get into this, guys. If you could just let us know if you can hear us okay, see us okay, and if we ever go out, if we ever lose you, sometimes streams lose their connectivity. We will be right back. So don't leave and think we're not coming back. Be patient with us. Give us a couple of minutes, but hopefully it's going to be a smooth sailing thing. So Gigi, what you want to talk about tonight, because I think it's so important for so many players out there, is you know, one of the biggest things as a coach, you see your players practice one way and they look pretty good. And then you see them out in the match and they're hitting about 50% of their capability and you can see their hands shaking. And I think we've all been there. And you've kind of been there too, you said.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, first of all, we point out that the statistics show that 84% of the time that you are playing a match, you're not actually hitting the ball. So in a match that lasts 2 hours and 45 minutes, which is a standard average time of a men's 3 out of 5 set match, 24 minutes are spent actually hitting the ball. So that means that 85% of the time we're in our mind, we're in our thoughts. So what are we doing with that time? And I think people don't spend any time working on the mental game. Clearly, they don't spend 85% of the time working on it, which if you think about if it's 85% mental or 85% of the time you're not actually hitting the ball, we should spend at least some proportion of time working on that. So for me, my personal story is that I was, you know, I don't know how you define what I was, but I had a pretty bad temper. And, you know, I blame this on the fact that I just did not know how to lose. You know, I grew up playing junior tennis in Puerto Rico, and I was top, you know, number one in my division as opposed to like division above and the two above. So at 12s, I was number one in 12, 14s, and 16s. At 14s, I was 14, 16, and 18s. So I would come to nationals or the U.S. and play nationals. So I'd lose a couple times a year. I really never lost in Puerto Rico. Then I went to college. And in college as a freshman, I lost 2 matches the whole year. And then I made the finals of NCAAs. And the girl I lost to, it was 7-6 in the third, and she was 27th in the world. So, I mean, I really lost. You could count them in one hand, the times I lost in, you know, maybe 2 or 3 years before I went on tour. And then you turn pro and you lose every single week. And I didn't know how to handle that. And, you know, I'm a perfectionist. And I'm very passionate, and I also had a temper, and that was a combustible combination. And I was notorious for bad behavior. I mean, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit it now, but you know, I broke rackets. I mooned an opponent, and it made Sports Illustrated. It was just horrible. I mean, I got fined for destroying flower displays at the courts, and, you know, banging courtside banners and all these things. It was a disaster, and I was ready to quit. I mean, I just was miserable. In 1988, which is 4 years after turning pro, I was going to play my last Grand Slam, and I was fortunate enough to meet Jim Lair, and he helped me win that Grand Slam. And to this day, I kind of credit him for turning my career around, because before that, I had no mental toolkit. I didn't know what to do. I would get in my head, I would get angry, I would get emotional, and that was the end of the match. And slowly but surely, over the next 3 or 4 years, I developed, working a lot on my mind, I developed all these toolkits and all this skill set that really helped me. You know, when the pressure was on, I played my best tennis, and I was definitely not born with it. So it's something that you can definitely work on and improve.
Wow. You know, I remember that Sports Illustrated. Now it brought back a memory.
It was the swimsuit issue. I mean, it's like the most bought Sports Illustrated of the year, and there I am, like mooning Mary Pierce. Like,
Oh my
so
God.
embarrassing.
She probably deserved it. She probably deserved
She
it.
did deserve it. To my defense, in my defense, she deserved it. Sorry, Mary.
Well, what made you so mad that you did that?
I think when I mooned her, she had won. She was up 6-0, 2-0, and she was still like pumping her fist and in my face about it. And like when you're beating somebody that bad, I mean, a little humility goes a long way. You know, like you don't have to rub it in their faces.
Yeah.
So I just had it, and I just flipped over and let her moon it. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I apologize. I mean, I was really young and immature. You know, now I'm an adult and I have kids, and it was pretty bad. You know, I'm ashamed to admit it. At the time, we've all been young, so that's my excuse.
Sure. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons why people, as they're getting older on tour these days, and they're able to figure out how to train smarter and not harder, they're
Right.
still able to keep their physical skills when they were younger, but they're so much more mentally tough. So you felt as you were going through your years on the tour that you were getting more and more mentally tough. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I went through a series of discoveries from different people in my career, in my life, that helped me. From Jim Laird to Julie Anthony, who was my main coach for a lot of years, who really helped me just develop goals. And setting goals is so critical to just life success, not just tennis success. But I equate not having goals to getting in a car and driving. Would you ever get in your car and start driving for no reason? Like, no, you have to know where you're going, so you know that you actually got there. So goal setting was a really important part of my development. And then I learned a lot from, they went to the Deepak Chopra Center. I learned how to meditate. I learned diaphragmatic breathing. That really helped me calm down when the pressure was really on. I learned how to visualize, and those things come to mind. So, and I really learned how to manage my emotions is the best way I can describe it, and how to focus on the next point and not worry about the past. And one thing that meditation did for me, and when you meditate, you're supposed to spend 20 minutes thinking about your mantra, if you have one, or just your breathing. And that's a very hard thing to do. Like, in fact, I tried this recently. I tried to meditate again, and I completely failed. Like, I set my watch for 20 minutes. I was on a plane, and I was like, all right, I'm going to calm down. I'm going to meditate for 20 minutes. I set my timer on my watch, which, 20 minutes from the point I started would vibrate. And then I started my meditation. And then next thing I know, the clock had gone off. And so 20 minutes went by, and I had read a book, had eaten, I had looked at my computer, I checked my emails, I had, read a magazine. I'd done everything but like, I completely forgot that I was supposed to be meditating. So it's definitely a skill to learn to concentrate on something for 20 minutes. But what meditation teaches you is that you have, when you're trying to just focus on your breathing or on your mantra, your mind wanders, and it wanders into, okay, I got to pick up the kids, or I got to get the groceries, or I can't believe I lost a point, or whatever it is that your mind wanders to. And then you have to bring it back to your mantra or to your breathing. But the key is that you have to do it without judgment or emotion. Like, you can't get mad at yourself for your mind wandering. So how that translated into a match is that I learned the skill of translating one thought for another without judgment or emotion. So if I get mad at the lines call or the umpire, then I would just simply change that thought with, okay, I got to win the next point. And then I would remove the emotion from it, and I was able to play next point, having forgotten what just happened in the previous point. So that was probably one of the most significant lessons of my life, learning how to do that, how to just change one thought for another without judgment or emotion. I went from learning to meditate in April of '92, and I went to I won the French Open in June, the Wimbledon in July, the Olympic Gold Medal in August, the U.S. Open in September, the Championships in November, and the Australian Open in January. 6 months after learning how to meditate.
Wow.
So yeah, very, very, very cool stuff.
So it works. All right, cool. I want to definitely ask you a lot of questions on so much what you said. You've already given so much value, and I just want to read a couple things here. We got Dad Supreme, cool name, saying tremendous growth journey. Gigi, we got great stuff from Jorge and Gigi. These are people really appreciating everything that's out there on Tennis Con, and so many people. Rick Willett said he's been looking for this discussion on the mental game all weekend. there was one lady in the net who said that TennisCon has been the Bible, of tennis instructors, because we have the best instructors here, and we're finishing with Gigi. Now, one thing that is always interesting to me about tennis, and I think that is hard to find the balance. I mean, you already told me before in some of our discussions that you're always somebody who's got to be on the go. You're very intense, and with tennis, you have to have that intensity. You have to be very intense. You have to be motivated. You know that you've got to go into a lot of sprints. You have to be aware of every situation and get to balls fast and concentrate. And so it's one of those sports like with football. I mean,
you can sit on the bench for half the time.
Well, also, but if you're in football, you can have a mentality of, like if you have a certain position, like I just got to crush this guy. And so you can be like all intensity all the time. In tennis, you have to have that idea of, well, I have to have power, but then I also have to have a finesse shot, and I gotta be ready to break through a wall, but then I also have to be in a very zen state of mind. Like, am I right? Is like that's the biggest challenge of how do you balance this idea? Because if you kind of get like too zen and too mellow, you could kind of just be in a coma out there. So how do you balance the zen with the football mentality that you also have to have?
So I think it's understanding when to be zen and when to be football, to use your terms. I mean, there's definitely a flow in a match, or there's a flow within a point. If you look at when a point starts, and let's just assume that a point starts when the last point ended. So when the last point ended, the next point is starting. So what happens in that time between the last point ended and when you strike the ball on the next point is critical, and that's the time to be zen. That's the time to be like in your thoughts and have a routine and have a system of things to do in those little 25 seconds. And then when the point starts, then you're like, got to kill him. Then you're football, right? So you can't be intense all the time. And one thing that sometimes players fail to do is sort of come out of concentration, because it's very hard to concentrate for a 2.5-hour match nonstop. So you really have to learn how to stop concentrating during the changeovers. So, I don't think that it's possible, and pros don't do this. Pros are not in concentration throughout the entire match. You have to come in and out, especially if it's a 4-hour match. It's very hard to sustain concentration that long. So on the changeovers, you relax. You think about other things. You have little tricks that you do to relax your breathing techniques. Or Natasha and I used to have a joke book. We used to actually, if we were losing a match that we shouldn't be winning. Now remember, every time we went on the court, we were supposed to win. So we had a lot of pressure every time we stepped on the court. Everybody's coming after us. So if we were ever not having a good day, we'd pull out the joke book and start telling each other jokes, and that worked wonders. But again, it's that understanding when to be intense and when to calm down. Also and now we just talked about the point. Now let's talk about the set. Like when a set starts, you got to be zen. You can't win the set at 1-love, right? So getting pumped up and getting like overly hyped the first game of the match is not going to help you. I mean, you got to save that energy for when it matters. 4-all, 5-all, 6-all. That's when you want to be the most intense. So again, understanding the differences and applying them is very, very important.
Yeah, very cool. Hey, before we get too far into this, guys, I do want to remind everybody that Gigi's going to have a couple of free trainings at the end of this discussion tonight. And also, we're going to be giving you guys the TennisCon 2 pay the link to sign up, because after this, we're going into the 30-day challenge. So all these great lessons that we got from these legendary coaches, we're going to go through them together. We're going to take about a week off and then start next week. I think it'll be November 5th. So just remember that if you got a lifetime access pass, your journey is just beginning. So
now wait. So if they don't have a lifetime pass, it goes to like $197 tomorrow, doesn't it?
That's true.
So,
yes.
So you gotta click on the link that you have to. You guys, I hope you have my link on there, because I'm trying to win the race. We have like the pros have their own internal race going to see who does best for Peter. So, and I'm kind of close. I'm in second place. So hopefully we get a couple more of you signing up for this great training. And I can win a drone, and it'll help me with my my new product that I'm putting out, the Gigi Method Roadmap to Mental Dominance.
Oh, I can't. I would love that. I would love to see your drone out there. Yeah. So I just put the link out there for you, Gigi. So if you see that
All
link,
right, thank you.
guys, that is the link for Gigi. And yes, she is trying to win the drone to where it'll be really cool because you can take some shots above the court. Wouldn't you like to see Gigi throw the ball up and you see the toss going? That's actually one of the coolest angles. I've seen that a couple of times. I want to see that. And Gigi following and coaching from above would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Now I just have to learn how to use it, but I don't know. I think Clay's probably got the upper edge on that.
No,
One,
you're not so far off there, Gigi. You're right in the hunt. So, Gigi, back to the mental discussion. One thing that Jorge Capistani says is tennis. It's like poker and chess. And he's like, and so when you're in between points, you're playing poker, meaning you're trying not to show your emotion that you're so upset and the awful things you might be saying in your head. And then when you play the point, then it's like chess. You're using these shots to win the point and get an advantage. So when you first started to work on this mental stuff, would you say you were playing a lot of poker? Like you might have been still not at the point to where you were zen like in between points and at the right time, but you knew it was hurting your game. So you might have been telling bad words in your head for the 30 seconds or however long you had, but your opponent couldn't tell. Is that kind of maybe one of the first steps to take?
well, so wait, what's your question? I lost
Well,
you there.
my question is when you're first starting to really delve into this mental stuff, I imagine you don't have it right away. It's just kind of like developing a forehand. I would think step one, and you can tell me if it didn't work like this for you. I think step one is even when you want to curse and throw your racket, and you might be saying that internally, that you develop a skill set of not letting your opponent know that you're actually killing yourself inside. Did any of that happen, or were you able to just kind of put that out of your mind?
I was never really thinking about my opponent when I was having my fits. It was very about me, meaning not in a selfish way, but I think tennis players get very self-centered, or they worry a lot, they end their thoughts and they're worrying about themselves. But for me, it was the transformation started with, first of all, hating to lose. Like I absolutely hate to lose. And if you lose enough times because you are doing something that is changeable, then you make the change, right? Otherwise, you're just not smart. And if it's something you can't change, like if your opponent has a better forehand than you and they keep drilling your forehand and you're losing points, there's not much you can do about that in a match, right? Other than go hit a million forehands and try to get your forehand better. But you can definitely change your attitude and your thoughts. It's a lot easier to change your attitudes and your thoughts than it is to change your forehand. So I think the first thing that I had to learn was what to do with the time between points. I had really no system or no set pattern or no steps to take from the time the point ended until the next point started. So that time is, for a pro or for a person that's being mentally tough, there's something very distinct about what happens in those 25 seconds, and there's a sequence that you go through in your brain, and learning that was probably what helped me sort of start on the path to playing great tennis, time after time. And then from there, it was just learning all these little tactics or mental tricks, such as, we talked about meditating and breathing and visualization, and I had this quiet place in my life that I loved going to, which was my parents' boat. We used to come back from the islands, and we used to live in Puerto Rico. And as the sun was setting over the horizon, and I would sit in the front of the boat on the way to port, and I could feel the ocean breeze hitting my face, and the sun setting. It was a beautiful, beautiful place that I really loved. And whenever I would get particularly stressed out in a match, I would just close my eyes and pretend I was there. I'd do it on the changeovers or between points, and that works, believe it or not. I mean, it really relaxes you. Breathing relaxes you. Breathing is shown physiologically to lower your heart rate. lower your blood pressure. Same with smiling. Smiling is also has positive physiological effects on your body. So learning to do all these things on top of your thoughts. What are you telling yourself? And and of course I beat myself up a lot early in my career. You stink. You're bad. You're fat. You can't move. You're slow. All those things I would definitely go through my mind. But again, over time, you come to realize they don't help you. And if you want to win, you have to control those thoughts and try to turn them into positive thoughts.
Very cool. Very cool. So there was one great question from Hank. He asked, well, what sequence do you go through in between the points? Like, is there a step by step? Let's say you hit the ball. Let's say you just hit the ball in the net and you're down love 15. Like, what do you do as soon as you face that realization that you missed the shot? What are the steps to the next point?
Okay, so I came up with an acronym. I love acronyms. In case you didn't know that, like I had the PASS: position, execution, shot selection, tactics. So I have an acronym for what you do between points, and I'm giving away the whole mental toughness roadmap. But in any case, I'm going to give it away. So it's the acronym is CRAVE, and it's CRAVE. So after the point ends, you want to chill. The C stands for chill. And by chill, I mean whether you won the point or lost the point, just like take a breath. Okay, if you won the point, you can get excited and then chill out. If you lost the point, chill. It's just the point. It doesn't matter if you won it or lost it. It's just 1 point in a whole match. It's not going to be the end. This point is not going to decide the match. All right, so go on to the next one. So that's your C. Then R stands for routines, and you have to have routines that you go to that are your pre-serve routine. As we all know what a routine is. If we don't, you've seen Rafa Nadal play. That's a routine. The things that we do with our hands, with our feet, with our strings, all those things, we have to go to our routines. Then as we start a routine, then we have to do the A, which is analyze. You want to analyze what happened in the previous point. How did I win the point? How did I lose the point? And then the V stands for visualize. You want to visualize the next shot you're going to hit. And then last but not least, you're going to execute. And when you execute, you have to have trigger words. It's very critical to have trigger words for proper execution. And trigger words are just words in your brain that you repeat that counter something that happens to you under pressure. So, for example, for me, my serve, when I was under pressure, my left arm would come down on my serve and I would dump the serve into the net. And I knew that from experience. Like if you watch your tendencies, you'll learn to recognize what's happening to you under pressure. Do you slow down? Do you decelerate? Do you freeze? Do you over exaggerate? Do you overhit? And then develop trigger words to help counter that. So my last thought every time I played and served, my last thought was left arm up. So part of my serve routine was like bounce, 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 toss the ball, and then as I was tossing the ball, I was telling myself left arm up. That's a trigger word, and trigger words are critical because they cue your brain into doing something positive as opposed to thinking about something negative, such as don't double fault, or oh god, it's match point. Oh no, what if I miss the first serve? I'm going to have to face the second serve. So again, when you put that thought in your brain, then that's what you're thinking about, not all the other bad things that could pop into your brain.
That's really good. And the person who wanted you to answer that question, Hank, said, what a great answer, Crave, great answer, very doable steps. And that is absolutely right. And you kind of remind me when I serve, and one of my things is obviously we can hit the ball in the net. And I think the more nervous you are, you do tend to, your body just feels heavy. So my thing is head up. So
head up, yep.
Yeah, so that is definitely powerful stuff, and you will notice that it works. And I think that's really good what you say, paying attention to tendencies. I think that higher level players, rather than when you're playing bad, I think some people when they're playing bad, they think, oh, this is not my day, or everything's against me. But if you know exactly why you missed, it's pretty easy to figure out how to correct it the next time. You don't get in an argument with yourself that
right.
The gods are against you that day. You're just like, oh, well, I missed because this happens. This is the only way, couple reasons why you would miss a shot. Is that kind of how you thought?
Yeah, I always had this thought very prominent in my head, which was it doesn't matter how you start. It only matters how you finish. So you can start out a match playing like crap. I mean, that's the great thing about tennis. You could lose a set 6-0 and still win a match. You know, the equivalent on any other sport, like for example, golf, if you get down the equivalent of 6-0, which is like if you're 6 over after, 6 holes, you're probably not going to recover. Or if you're in a swim meet and you are 3 seconds behind someone, you're not going to win. But in tennis, you can be down 6-0, 5-0, and you can still win. It's just not over until the last point. So having that thought, and always remembering, I always would think about what my opponent was feeling, because I've been in my opponent's shoes. Like, so if I'm up 6-0, 3-0, or if my opponent's 5-4 serving, and I'm feeling like, oh shit, I'm going to lose this match. Oops, excuse my language. But if I was thinking I'm going to lose this match, I have to think, okay, my partner's serving for the set. That's pressure. So they're going to be feeling it. They're going to be feeling serving for the set. So put yourself in your opponent's shoes. Having been there at some point in your life, you've been in their shoes and you know what that feels like. So when you're feeling like you have no choice, or you have not choice, but you have no hope, remember that the other person's feeling also the pressure, and you're both feeling it. It's not just you feeling it. You're both going through the same thing. So it's not over till you shake hands. It's a good motto.
Yeah. Now you said something that it's a little different, but I wanted to ask you about it because it reminded me of something John Newcomb said. I interviewed him one time, and he said that he would save certain tactics and pacing, maybe not showing his best stuff until the heightened pressure of the match. For example, he said he was a serve and volley player, but when he played on clay, he figured if I could stay with somebody for a set and a half to 2 sets from the baseline, and then as it got to the pressure situations, then he'd go to net a little more. So then he would then turn into his A game. And I found that very interesting, because I would always just try and just give everything, show everything I had right away, show all my cards right away. And then there was no other gear to go to sometimes. So did you and your partner also kind of think like that sometimes?
Natasha is a tough question, because Natasha and I were so dominant in that 5-year period where we won 14 Grand Slams. We probably won 10 tournaments a year. So we were just playing.
Damn good.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't for that once I achieved that level of dominance, then we didn't have those issues. But to answer your question, I did have certain shots that I would hold in the back of my pocket, and I call it the go-to serve. Like, my go-to serve was wide on the ad side. So if I was ever game point or match point, I would try to hit an ace out wide. And I rarely hit that serve unless it was, I would hit it sometimes when I was down 15-30. But usually I only hit that serve on break point, or game point rather. So I didn't want to just give it to them at love 15 or 40 love, or, not some meaningful point, because I wanted to get used to it. So yeah, you definitely hold your cards if you have the luxury of different games like that. I mean, that's pretty remarkable from Nuke, that he would not play his A game going into a different surface. Like, most people in that case would not, I think would have a hard time winning matches if they're not playing their A game. But that's pretty impressive for him.
Yeah, I found that very interesting. Now, another thing that just popped into my head is you have your routine, but I could see that being very effective for singles, because you're out there by yourself and your thoughts are your thoughts. But you and your partner also have to work in doubles together. So did you and Natasha did you share everything that you're thinking about and your meditation? Did she partake in that with you? Did you guys have similar routines in between points?
No, absolutely not. Not even close. If you knew Natasha, you would know that Natasha was like her own person. She had her own way of doing things, and she thought I was kooky a little bit, I think, because of all my, I always had like mental health helpers out there, and I would make us, I would call it sessions, but I would make us go have sessions with my sports psychologist. The two of us would go and talk about our matches, and she would hate it, but I think it's, part of the reason that we were able to sustain this high level for 5 years, a pretty long time, or 6 years. So one thing though, to just talk a little about the difference between the singles routines and the doubles routines, I mean, they're pretty much the same, except for in doubles, your routine should include or needs to include communication with your partner. So at some point in those 25 seconds, while you're doing this in your brain, you have to go talk to your partner, whether it's verbal or nonverbal communication. For the pros, as you know, they always come together and they always talk about the next point. And a lot of amateurs ask me that, whether I think they need to do that. And the answer to that is it depends on how hard they serve and how important and how much strategy is going on in a point. Like if you're playing against a really good returning team and you're struggling to serve, I think you need to talk about what's going on for the next point. Like, where are you going to serve? If you can direct your serve, the person at the net needs to know where you're going to serve. If not, it could be nonverbal communication. It could just be you guys look at each other and just like slap your wrist or do a come on this point. But there has to be some kind of coming of the mind or coming together in doubles in those 25 seconds. But other than that, your thoughts or my thoughts at least were the same whether I was playing singles or doubles.
Yeah, so I guess from team to team is what you're saying. It can be different things that work for you. One thing, I got to watch the Bryan brothers play an exhibition in Atlanta. It was this place called Lifetime Sports. And my girlfriend, who's not really a tennis player, she said to me, "Oh my gosh, look at those two. They jump at the same time.
Yeah.
They like tap the racket at the same time." And so
yeah, they're amazing.
What do you think when you see them do that? How does that help them?
I think they have an unfair advantage because they're mirror image twins. Not fair to the rest of the world. Like, I mean, the fact that, they obviously know each other better than two individuals could ever know each other. They're identical twins. I mean, let's be real. But that's not common. I mean, that's not usual. I mean, I think they're definitely not the norm. They're like the outliers in that sense. I mean, normally you have two players that are complete individuals that are doing things completely different as far as their routines and how they talk and how they run and move and slap and how they behave. And then they come together on the court, and what you want to find someone who complements you. So you want to find, for doubles, you want to find somebody that makes you whole. So whatever you're lacking, you want to try to find someone that can fill in those needs. But yeah, the Bryan brothers are just remarkable. I mean, complete awe of them and how long they've been playing and how well they play together. I hope Mike or Bob comes back and they can keep playing together. It's fun to watch them.
Yeah. I think here's a good question from one of our, it's Robin BK, and you could probably answer this pretty good. She goes, "My mixed partner and I, we play a couple that play mind games, bad calls, questioning score, etc. How can we maintain our focus and not overreact to this?"
Well, I mean, what you have to understand is that people who do that do it to try to get in your head. So they're trying to get you to lose your concentration or trying to get you to be annoyed so that you don't play as well. So by giving in to them, they win. So I certainly played against people who did that in my career. And what those people hate is when you don't react. If they can't get to you, then they almost become crazy because they keep trying to do it. And if you don't react and you don't react, then eventually you get the upper hand because they depend on you losing it so that so that you don't play well and they win. But if you just keep playing and not pay attention, then you'll have a better chance of coming out on top. Easier said than done.
That's true.
But,
Matt, I just have to say this. You need to watch this Coffee Break Tennis too, Gigi. It is so good. Everybody, if you're out there and you haven't watched Coffee Break Tennis from my friend Matt Bradshaw, he says, "Win the drone, Gigi. We're rooting for you."
Win the what?
Win the drone.
Oh, the drone. Okay. Yeah.
I'll put the drone link in there again so everybody can help Gigi win. Now, I did want, as you're talking about all these rituals, and I want to know if you have any more of your system you want to talk about. But one thing that I'm finding interesting and it puts me off a little bit. It's a little frustrating to watch is when you're watching all these pros, these grown men and women. It seems like every single point They're looking at their box for approval. When things aren't going right, they're yelling and screaming at the box. I just wondered, am I crazy? What do you think about this? Have you noticed this as well? And what do you think about it?
You know, I have mixed feelings about that, because generally, to me, sometimes when people are too focused on their box, they don't play well, because your box can't help you, right? I mean, there's nothing they can do to make you play better. And looking over there it doesn't help at all. However, it's very solitary being on a stadium, 12,000 people or 20 or however many thousand that are, screaming and, being as fans are, which is great. We love it. We love it when fans are like that. But it's very solitary to be out there. So sometimes you look to your box just for support and just to feel like you're not alone out there. And I don't know. It's sort of like, Murray's probably a good example of a guy that just goes nuts on his box, and that's his outlet. And it's hard to be in the receiving end of that. It's hard to sit in the box and have somebody berate you like that. But it's so stressful being on the court sometimes, and players need that outlet. But generally speaking, I feel it's counterproductive. I feel like, when you don't see Federer doing that, or even Rafa doing that, they're not looking to the box for support or for help, because they can't help them. They can cheer all they want, but the player has to do it themselves.
Yeah, I think you just hit it on the head to me. When I'm watching, I will see Rafa and Federer every once in a while. They'll look at their box. I think they pick the right moments, and they pump themselves up.
Right.
And they do a fist, or sometimes it's a quiet, subtle thing. You'll see Federer sometimes, he almost out of the side of his eye will look to them. But I've often thought, when they're just going crazy like that, as a coach, maybe you think you're there like supporting them, but I almost think it would be good for a coach once in a while to say, look, if you're going to do that, I'm just going to get up and walk away. I'm just going to leave the box, because I'm not helping you at that point. Do any coaches ever do that?
They'll lose their jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if coaches are punching bags, they really are. My coach was my punching bag. Like, anytime I was frustrated with anything, I just took it out on him, because I don't know. It's like, that's what they're there. They're to support you. They're there to help you. And I think it's just the way it is. I don't think it's going to change. Again, because it's so, unless coaching is allowed, which is a whole other conversation, but I'm a huge proponent of coaching. I know people have different opinions about it, and they think tennis is solid, and I respect the people who think that tennis, there should not be coaching allowed, and that's part of tennis. But I just feel that at the level of the tour, and I'm talking the Grand Slams and the Master Series events, why not? It's the only sport in the world that does not allow coaching. In the world, like, even golf has the caddies. The caddies are very helpful to the players. And why should we do it alone? It's very solitary. It's very, I don't know. I think if we allow coaching, first of all, it's entertaining and for the fans. So I'm very entertained when the coaches come on the court and you can hear the conversations. But also, it makes for better tennis, because then there's a lot of strategy going on, and you see the change of strategies happen when for the coach's suggestions. And I think the better player would win more often if the coaches were allowed to coach. And, I'm kind of curious to have seen what would have happened if Serena could actually brought her coach on the court when she was becoming unglued, when she was playing Osaka in the US Open final, and how maybe the result would have been different. So I don't know. I think, why does tennis is already hard enough. Why do we have to make it harder? So I'm a proponent for on-court coaching.
Yeah, I don't want to go off the rails too far on this either, but I do just want to ask you a question, get your thoughts on, because I've thought that as well. But then somebody here at the ranch, we were talking about that, and they made a very good point. They said, well, I don't know if coaching really should be allowed, because what if you're playing against Roger Federer or somebody like that, and against one of these people who have these celebrity coaches? What if Edberg's coming on the court when Roger used to have him, or Boris Becker, coaches like this, Ivan Lendl? What if you came on the court, Gigi? And then listen to this. And then the opponent is somebody who just made it, and they don't really routinely get into these tournaments. So maybe they're up 4-1 on Federer, and they don't have a coach, or they know their coach is a hitting partner who's a kid who they could beat 6-0, 6-0, and they really can't get any valuable information other than they're just their buddy. What do you think about a situation like that?
Well, that's why I started by saying that on the main tour, on the Master Series events and the Grand Slams, it's $50,000 to lose in the first round of the Grand Slam. So most people who are playing Grand Slams can definitely afford a full-time coach today, in this day and age. Not when I was playing, but in this day and age, I would say, I'd be interested to know the statistic, but I would say just about every player in the top 100 has a coach. And maybe they're not Boris Becker and Stefan Edberg, but who's to say that, Joe Schmo from the corner is not a better coach for you than Stefan Edberg or Boris Becker? Like, just because there were players, like, as we know, just because there are players doesn't mean they're great coaches. There are a lot of great coaches out there who weren't players. So I don't know. I mean, I think, again, it's just the thought for making tennis more interesting and more appealing and more, to me, it would make it more exciting, really, to just see all the strategy changes and the coaching moves. And, I was able to coach during World Team Tennis. I was the coach of the New York Empire, and coaching is allowed because the coaches sit on the court, and it was fun for me actually as a coach to be able to contribute to the outcome of the match, but also good for the players to be able to call me on the court when they felt that things were getting out of hand. So just something to consider. I mean, we have to continue to evolve. Tennis has been the same way for thousands of years. It was good to see that finally Wimbledon is doing fifth set tiebreakers. That's a big change. And tennis, again, will continue to evolve. And that's just one way to perhaps continue to evolve the game.
Well, I think that's a great point. One of the most innovative things to happen in the last couple of years is the Laver Cup. And, it's fascinating when you're watching Roger Federer over Djokovic's shoulder, and he's trying to help him through that match. And, as a tennis fan, I actually sat with somebody who I coached up in Maine, and we're sitting there, we're rewinding the thing back and forth. So, I mean, as fans, we do love that. So I think that there's definitely a benefit for that. What do you think about, what would the cup be called if the ladies did something similar? And do you think that that's a good idea for the women's tour to have, maybe what would
the King Cup?
What would you call the cup? Would it probably, that's right, the King
Cup. Yeah, it would have to be the King Cup. No other female in the history of tennis has had so much impact, not only on tennis, but on women in general, in sports and non-sports. I mean, she's an icon, and it would definitely be called that. And I don't know. There was some talk of it. It'd be fun to see, actually, the Laver Cup be mixed. Like, I felt like maybe having, instead of 6 guys, having 4 guys and 2 girls. The Friday matches were okay. They were not. As a spectator, I felt like the Friday matches, I could have done without the Friday matches. So the Saturday and Sunday matches were spectacular. So why not have 2 women? Have women out there and have 1 mixed doubles match and 2 doubles matches. So that's what I was rooting for.
Yeah, and I love those events leading up to the Australian Open. They seem like they do some of that, and it is fun to see the men and the women play together, and the shot making, and then how they have fun together. That's a nice element to see. I would definitely like to see that. Okay, so let's get back into the mental side. Is there anything else? Is there any other acronyms that we haven't hit, or what about when we're getting later into the match? What have we not covered?
We haven't covered a lot, but we're almost out of time.
Yeah,
can't cover a lot in 45.
So give us right. So with that, we're about to let me start feeding them your links while you maybe come up with something else here, and I'm going to feed them you gave me a special secret link. What is the secret link I'm about to give out?
Oh, so this is like if you are interested in buying the Gigi Method Roadmap to Mental Dominance, which will come out sometime in December or January. This is sort of like a test. The first people who are going to get it have to sign up through this link. So I might tap into them to give me some feedback as to what they think of the product before I actually release it. Just so if you're interested in giving me feedback on the potential product, or if you want to know about it when it comes out. Just put your name on that link.
Yeah, I put the link out there, and this is a link hot off the presses. Gigi, literally, we were coming on. She's like, okay, let me get this link ready. So it is hot off the presses, and so there you go. That's kind of another cool thing of being in Tennis Con is you're the first to know about this kind
Peter,
of.
how many people are watching? How many people do we have listening?
Right now, it's gone up and down. We have 157 on. It went 157, 158, 160. So. Cool. Pretty good crowd on watching you right now, Gigi.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Yeah. And would it be okay right now if I also gave away, don't you have like a 30-day training program?
So I have the Gigi Method positioning step free. And then that includes 4 weeks of the Gigi Method classroom. And the Gigi Method classroom is a year-long program that you normally enter after you've gone through the Gigi Method. And if I'm sure hopefully you all have heard of the Gigi Method by now, but it's 5 steps: positioning, court coverage, shot selection, serves and return. And they're all surrounded by competition. And each step of the method has about 12 to 15 videos where I cover that specific subject. It's available at doubles.tv. All people ask me what doubles.tv is. Doubles.tv is where my doubles content lives. All my content lives at doubles.tv. Ideally, I mean, my grand plan for doubles.tv, I would love to be able to stream doubles matches, and hopefully someday as doubles.tv grows, we can have more tennis matches on TV, because I don't feel like people get a chance to watch tennis matches or doubles matches on TV. So that's a grand plan for doubles.tv. But for now, it's got the Gigi Method classroom, and then the roadmap to mental dominance will also be there in a couple of months.
People would love that, Gigi. John Newcomb was giving a talk the other day to a weekend camp, and one lady, she raised her hand. She says, why isn't there more doubles on TV? Most of us play doubles, and we want to see more doubles. So that would be just awesome if you could do that. Very cool. We have, by the way, Gigi, people are signing up for you. They are supporting you. And even people have mentioned, hey, I did sign up for Gigi. So keep supporting.
And then, the other thing that hopefully everybody knows that I accept people here in Tampa. I have camps, 3-day camps here in Tampa. I just finished 3 weeks of these. There are 3-day camps, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday normally. And those are a lot of fun. We go through all the steps of the G Method in a classroom setting, and we drill and we talk about all these things, mental game, and how to compete, how to find a partner, how to be a good partner, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of that's how Gigi Fernandez Tennis has my schedule. And yeah, tell your friends. I also, if you have a team, if you're team captains that want to come work as a team, I just had great news today. These 4 girls that I've been working with for like a year and a half, they just won nationals, 4-0 national champions, Trish Dugan and Vala Costa. Wow. Shout out to them. Super exciting. So yeah, as a coach, that's why you work. You know, that's why you help people, so that they can achieve their goals. And they're just they're so excited that they're national champions. So congratulations to them.
I just want to repeat what Gigi said, because you were kind of going in and out there, Gigi. Gigi says she does her camps, and one of her people that just been coming for like a year and a half, they just won nationals. And it definitely is a different deal, because I think when you go to these camps, I just did a camp here at Nukes, is you are around like-minded people who are obsessed with tennis. So, you know, maybe you go to your local place, and not that there's anything wrong with the pro, but maybe the people who come are not as obsessed with tennis as you. So they don't want to get into the meat and potatoes of the strategy and the drills. They just want balls fed. They don't want to sit there and listen. Where when you go to a camp like Gigi has, you're going to really learn the strategy from a 17-time Grand Slam champion. She's going to look and say, look, you see where you're staying right there? That needs to be different. So you're getting to see Gigi talk about her method, plus she's watching you play on court. You're probably hitting a lot of balls too. Is that correct, Gigi?
That's correct. Yes, all that. I mean, it's gaining the knowledge in the classroom setting, and kind of going through my different thoughts on how to cover the court and where to stand, and why you should cover this shot or that shot, and then going out and practicing it. Different ways to serve so you can improve your accuracy. And then we talk about formations and shot selection from each of the different positions that you play. So we work on all those things. So you really leave, with 2.5 days, you leave with so much information that you can take with you and continue to improve your game. It's like a crash course in doubles, in 2.5 days.
Very cool. So make sure you check out Gigi's camps. Make sure you check out her free training. and make sure you support Gigi when she's in a drone zone competition right now. And you know, right now it's Sunday night. It's near 9 o'clock, so we're gonna cut this off here in a couple of minutes because I know she likes to get ready for you know, her big days that she's going to have. Gigi's always up early in the morning and at it, working hard all day. So it's very much a privilege that she came on, and I'm honored for everything that you've done for TennisCon too. I certainly hope you will come back again next year, and I just want to thank you right now, Gigi, for
Thank
you know,
and congratulations. Congratulations to you, Peter. You've done an amazing job. I'm very impressed with all your emails and all your follow-up, and congratulations on all your success.
Well, thank you so much. And guys, if you're out there, you are going to get a couple more emails tonight. I do apologize for the people getting annoyed with the emails, but people, you know, people the next day will say, I didn't get the emails, or I missed this, and you know, is it too late? And you need to sign up tonight because the price will go up to $197. I still even think it's a good deal at that because we just have so much content. I even have so much more content from the ranch here that we haven't even got to. You know, it's like a boatload in the editing room that we're going to be putting out to our lifetime members over the next week, and we're going to start the 30-day challenge. So make sure you sign up. Even the price, the bigger deal of the price, is missing out on the 30-day challenge. So I'll put the link in here one more time. I want to thank Gigi for coming on, and everybody have a great night. And Gigi, best of luck with everything you do.
Bye. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, take care. Okay, guys.